In this video, I'm going to be making a wooden dish rack.
Let's click a play. Welcome to my bomb shelter basement workshop, where this week I'll be making something useful for my house. Because my dish rack is old, horrible, and I need to get rid of it. My house is very small, which means the kitchen is tiny, so this 2-level dish rack just looks out of place. This thing can hold a whopping 17 plates, but if you've got a few plates on there and anything else, it can only hold 1 pan, and it doesn't do that very well. It does not hold bottles or pint glasses at all. The bottom section is only tall enough to put coffee cups in and maybe a small pan. The cutlery section is terrible. You can't clean the bottom of it properly. All the stuff just groups together and the spoons try to escape all the time.
So for my new drying rack, I want it to be 1 level, not 2. That should make it a lot neater. I also have to be able to stack bottles and pint glasses on them so they can dry properly. I want it to be easier to put pans on there. And I also want a separate section for knives, forks, spoons, because I feel like that makes sense. I do have a few ideas on how I'm going to put this thing together, but I need to test some things first, so let's get to it. In my videos, I normally just go straight at it and fix any problems I come across, so that was probably the longest measuring and testing thing I've ever done. And here's the reason why. I got a couple of these pieces of wood from work. They were left over from a restaurant build. They are very heavy, very solid, and very sexy, so I've wanted to save them for a really nice project, and I don't want to waste them. Now that I've got all my measurements right, here is my design. It is very simple. It's just strips of wood with angles joining it together that are going to hold the plates. But I know from past experience, when you use strips of wood, you run out of wood very quickly. And even though I would have had enough long strips, I wouldn't have had any strips to do the middle bit. So instead of using the natural height of the wood, which is 9 centimeters, I'm going to trim it down to 7.5 centimeters. And that will allow me to use this one little piece to fill in the gaps in the middle, so I can finally start cutting. These things do look beautiful. I mean, look at that end grain, but unfortunately, it's not going to stick together like this. I need to remove this, so I think I'm going to use the thicknesser. All these pieces are now 42 centimeters by 7.5 centimeters. Next, I have to prep that small piece ready for cutting some angles. I now have 14 little angle pieces that are 5 centimeters at the bottom and 1.5 centimeters at the top. So, let's see if my maths is mathing. Measurements were right, but we still have issues. My angles do have furry offcuts because I didn't put anything at the back of the miter saw. That's a minor issue. But here's the main oversight. I trimmed the wood down and that gave me these little strips which was supposed to go in the middle as dividers. But when you look from the right, everything's end grain. And if I put these on the left section won't be end grain, and I don't want that. Change of plans. I don't have enough wood to make this thing look perfect. I could make it look good. It would be all right, but I've never worked with this kind of high-end wood before, and I think this stuff would look much better as a chopping board. So I'm going to use plywood instead. Back to square one. I was using scrap plywood and it was a bit too thin to match my design, so I decided to stick everything together, double up the thickness before I started cutting it to size. Back to where we were, got my long pieces, got my slanty pieces, Now I need some straight pieces. Cut all my straight bits, and here's how it's going to work. We've got slanty bits at the side, then we've got a row of straight bits down the outside to give it a frame, and then a row of straight bits down the middle. And the middle sections, or these end sections, are where the cutlery is going to be held. But I need something underneath to stop the cutlery falling through. But I also need it to drain water. I don't want to drill holes in it because then I can't coat the holes and they'll absorb water. So I've come up with an idea. Basically going to put a little space along the outside, and that way it should be able to drain water, and I will be able to coat it in something so it's waterproof. My first attempt was horrible and too deep, but the second attempt was much better, so that's the method I'm going to use for the others. I've got all the bits I need, but once it's all stuck together, it's going to be impossible to sand in between it, so I need to sand every single piece before we glue it up. All my small pieces are now sanded because I won't be able to sand them when it's stuck together, but I also won't be able to varnish it once it's stuck together. So now I'm going to have to mark off every section that's going to be stuck together, paint in between those spaces, and then paint all the inside little bits as well. First layer of coating is complete. I brushed on the walnut and then sanded it with 240 grit sandpaper, and I did that 3 times. And that took me a very long time. This was supposed to be a weekend project, and I'm now on the second weekend. Not good. Now I've got to stick all this stuff together, which is going to be really challenging because there's hundreds of pieces. I think what I'm going to do is put the edge pieces in so it makes a solid frame, then squeeze the other bits in after. I don't know. I'm going to make it up as I go along. I've just realised that was a mistake, so I've clamped both sides, left and right, but as soon as I go to put these pieces in, I'm going to put glue on it, and when I go to force it in, it's going to scrape all the glue off, or put the glue all over the freshly painted walls. So I need to disassemble this and start again. Once it had dried, I had to scrape off any excess glue that had run on the inside of it and then start sanding it. In my rush to fix the gluing problem, I made another mistake. My edges weren't straight, so I had a stupid idea. I decided to use the drop saw to straighten everything up. After a lot of sanding, it was time to fill in any final gaps and then give this thing a few final coats of varnish. There we go, another project complete that took way longer than it should have done. Now, it does look really cool, but it doesn't work. It's not good. With all the changes I made, especially trimming down the height, The cutlery section's useless. They almost fall out every time you put stuff in. It really needed to be higher. The cutlery sections are too long as well. I think multiple narrow sections would be a better way to go. I completely forgot to make a section for bowls and stuff like that because I don't really use bowls. When I doubled up the thickness of the plywood, I made it too thick. I think making it a little bit thinner would have got more stuff in and created more surface space overall. So I'm definitely going to have to rebuild that one in the future, but for now I'm going to carry on using it because it looks way better, and that way I should learn a few more things to make my next one better. But that's what my channel's about, me just learning as I go along and improving things. I've still got all that really nice wood, so I guess I'm making a chopping board video in the next one once I figure out how to do that. But until then, thanks very much for watching. If you've got any tips, questions or suggestions, stick them in the comments below. Do the subscribe thing, that makes you cool, and I will see you in the chopping board video.